Welcome in, Panthers fans. Welcome in, Bucs fans. Welcome in, NFC South fans who may be wondering, do the Panthers have a chance to pull off an upset this week? Well, we're going to dive in. And similar to the post-game reaction to the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, I think this episode's going to be pretty short as well. Maybe under 20 minutes. We'll see. Hey, let's jump right in, folks. Welcome to the show. This is Carolina Dad, your host of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Hey, we have playoff football here in the Carolinas. That's right. Not as we envisioned. Tampa Bay at the helm. Tampa Bay vying for a playoff spot, folks. This is how it's going to shake out. You have Tampa Bay coming in. If the Carolina Panthers knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the winner of the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints game will be your NFC South champion. Here's where it gets even better. If the Falcons win that game, and assuming the Panthers knock off the Bucs, the 8-9 Falcons would be your NFC South champion. Oh, the agony, man. Just not that they're the ones that would win it. As I sit here, I've got to do the Saints podcast quite a few times this year, twice, with the guys at Beer and BS, and really good guys, man. Coming into this, just as a fan, before I did the podcast, was not big on the Saints. Panthers fans have a history there, but I think out of the three teams, I hate Atlanta. I just do. Of course, I want to win and knock off the Bucs. So being able to put the Saints in the playoffs, hey, let's do it. Let's do it. So, yeah, Chris Tabor talked about it this week. Talked about it in his pressers. He said, I know what the media thinks. I know what you guys out there are saying. And there's ball to play for. He's like, his name is going to be on this game. The player's name is going to be on this game. As I've talked about, everyone here is vying for an audition, whether it's here or another team or somewhere else in the offseason. That's what it's going to be. I mean, let's talk about this game. We've got a 1 o'clock kickoff, and I should say the Falcons Saints also 1 o'clock kickoff. 2-14 Carolina Panthers, again, hosting the good old Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 8-8 coming into Bank of America Stadium. Both teams have met 45 times. The Panthers hold the edge 25-20, 13-10 at home. Talked about the playoff implications. Now, there is a chance that there's some weird scenarios where even if the Bucs lose, I think they could still get in through kind of a weird, they would need a lot of things to happen, but it is a possibility. So we may not officially knock them off, but hey, by virtue of winning, if they were to win, Panthers were to win, you would eliminate somebody in the division, which that's all you can ask for at this point in the year as we play for it. Now, coming into this, it's been a wild week, folks. So for those that are following the Tepper situation and, the tossing, I advised folks that are going to the game, you might want to wear your ponchos, jokingly, but not jokingly. Not really. You'll be fine, I'm sure, I guess. Just don't get up in his press box. Start running your mouth. Don't do it, folks. But this week, it's been a crazy one, man, and the national media's blown up. I did get to hop on ESPN Wilmington with Randy Slack. As always, thanks. I'm losing track of how many times I've been on there. I truly am so appreciative of those opportunities and what it does for the show and for me to get my name out there and talk to Randy, who's a really cool dude. Really, really cool dude. But wild week, right? Wild week, and we've got the last game, and so through the week you've had members of the media asking and talking to the players, trying to get their statements. Bryce Young's like, I don't even know what Tepper's statement was, what his response was. Brian Burns did not even respond. But Shaq Thompson did. You know what? We're here. Let's do it. Let me run the clip of Shaq Thompson. So Shaq Thompson is not holding back, folks. Shaq is not holding back. And now there's a few things at play there. He's coming off an injury. There is a chance that he may be moved. If you were to listen to Burns or, like I said, Bryce, some of the guys we know are back next year. They put their hands up and are like, plead the fifth. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on the situation. Shaq, though, is like, hey, you don't do that. It's not how you treat people. And I respect that for him. I respect that, again, like I said, coming into the season, for him to take the pay cut the way that he did and for him to remain here. Now, before we start diving into numbers and analytics, I'm not going to do a full-on update as far as like all the Panthers news, because there's been just a little too much to kind of put into perspective here. But for today, there were a few things I wanted to highlight. Some good news coming out of the Carolinas. So DJ Chark won the Tom Barry Good Guy Award. So this was named the recipient of the annual award for ongoing cooperation with the local media. So all the folks that you hear me talk about, I'm not going to name them because I'll do a bad job and miss some folks, but all of our local media that work with these players every day. So each year the writers get together, the group of like 6 or 7 of them, and pick someone to get this award. And DJ Chark, we know, has had a tough season, but he has been open and available. He has not shied away from, saying that he needed to do better, that the performance wasn't there. And if you go back and watch him getting this award, I think it meant something to him, which is good to see, man. You root as far as like the human and the people that are in these places with families. You wish them the best, and that's all you can do. Now, past winners included PJ Walker last year, Brian Burns, Teddy Bridgewater, Greg Olsen, Ryan Khalil, Ed Dixon, Kurt Coleman, Josh Norman, Mike Tolbert. Hey, Mike Tolbert out there breaking the keep pounding drum. Greg Olsen won it twice. James Anderson, Captain Munnerlyn, missed that guy, and Jordan Gross. Brad Hoover, I guess that was the first official one in 2009. This award was named after Tom Barry, who was a Panthers journalist who covered the team for years before he passed away in 2009. So again, that's the story behind the award and why it's given out. But in a statement, when he got this, he said, "I wasn't expecting this. This is DJ Chark. I appreciate it. Like you said, the year that we've had, it wasn't what we imagined. But in this game, you make a lot of relationships with people, and I try to be personable with everyone that I meet and try to be genuine with my answers when I speak to people. So it feels great to know that it didn't get overlooked. I appreciate you guys for this. I know you have a tough job having to report on the football world while being honest, but also trying to have our backs and help us write our stories. This is huge for me. I appreciate you, and I thank you all." Great story there. Additionally, following that up, the NFL Players Association put together a survey of coordinators. So let me make sure I get this right. So the survey was put together to ask the players, like, who did they value most? Who do they want to work for? Who do they like as their coaches? And you will be surprised at some of the names on the list. Some of the names that are potentially going to be head coaching candidates here, but also a few guys that are already here in Carolina. So let's talk about the top 5. So the top 5 offensive coordinators. This is ranked Frank Smith, number 1. He got emotional when talking about when someone brought up, potentially him becoming a head coach here in Carolina. Of the Miami Dolphins, Thomas Brown. That's right, Thomas Brown was number 2 on this list for the Carolina Panthers. Brian Schottenheimer for the Cowboys rounded out, or number 3. Brian Callahan for the Bengals, and Kellen Moore for the Chargers. And I know there's quite a few of you folks that do not want that name mentioned as a possible, candidate here. Top 5 defensive coordinators in the NFL. Aaron Glenn, Detroit Lions. Steve Wilkes, who would have thought that? San Francisco 49ers. Dan Quinn of the Cowboys. Brian Flores of the Minnesota Vikings. Raheem Morris of the Los Angeles Rams. And then your coordinator, or your special teams coordinators, John Fassel, Dallas Cowboys. Chris Tabor, Carolina Panthers. Matt Daniels, Minnesota Vikings. Dave Phipp, Detroit Lions, and Darren Rizzi of the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, a few guys, when you talk about defense, now I haven't talked about Brian Flores, but Dan Quinn could be a sleeper, but I feel like his position is going to be there in Dallas if things don't pan out the way that they are. But, out of the list, Frank Smith, a name, Kellen Moore, although, much further off in my mind as far as like a true head coaching candidate. All right. Enough about that. Let's talk about football, and let's keep it sweet, man. I always like to say, let's keep it short as can be. A few headlines coming into this game. One is Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is looking to break 1,000 yards on the season. Congrats to Adam Thielen, who broke 1,000 receiving yards on the season. What a season for him. As an undrafted guy, going back to his original story, and to see where he's gone and at the age that he's doing this, positive news. And I always like a little bit of positive news considering where this season is. But you have that storyline coming in. You have Derek Brown, who is 3 tackles away from having the most tackles by a defensive lineman in NFL history. And he got snubbed, man. Talk about the Pro Bowl snub. Ugh. I get it. I understand we're a terrible team. I didn't mean to do that. But he's 2-14 to have the year he's having. It's tough to see him not make this list. I said the way that you should fix this, and sorry, I'm trying to fix my mic as I'm doing this. The way you fix this is you remove the fan vote. I know fans love to vote and get involved, or at least some of them do. Remove the fan vote. And then from there, have the players and coaches vote on who actually gets in. Then if you want to let fans vote on the color of the jersey or who goes against who in these drills or starters, whatever it is, let fans vote on that. But don't let fans influence this because it's a popularity contest and you're going to have, guys with inflated numbers. And, I'm not just saying that because it's a down year for the Panthers, but I think across the league, I tweeted that out and a lot of people were liking it and retweeting it and said that's a great idea. And so, yeah, I do think that's one way that you can help solve this. Removing the fans from the actual vote itself is an option. But you've got that storyline coming into this. And then Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young needs about 217 yards, I guess technically 218 yards, to hit 3,000 passing yards in the season. With his ups and downs and ebbs and flows that we've seen, maybe it's possible this week. You're going to have to hit that mark, I think, in order to win the game. Because when we think about the first time these two teams played, getting into more of the Tampa Bay breakdown, it was a rainy day. A lot of the first half. The run game really is what powered the Panthers. Earlier in that game, there were situations where we didn't run the ball on 4th down when we should have ran the ball, or we passed the ball. And you've got really a team that's led by Baker Mayfield. And, Baker Mayfield should be up there in comeback player of the year discussions because the journey that he's been on from Cleveland to here to Los Angeles and then to Tampa Bay, if they can pull this off, I do think you should consider him. Throwing in Joe Flacco there as well. Baker's having an excellent year. 64.4% completion percentage. Almost 4,000 passing yards. 3,907. 28 touchdowns. Quarterback rating of 95.9. He also has the most rushing attempts of his career at 57. And is 10 yards shy of breaking his career rushing record. Believe that. Believe it or not. The Panthers can take advantage of that, trying to get Mayfield to throw the ball out quickly. And, in the first matchup, Baker didn't play great at all. We were in the game, most of it. That's the game where it comes down really to the end, and, we lost by 3. This week, it's hard for me to, Mike Evans. Yeah, I just throw up Mike Evans' name and already gets me shaking. He's always good for, 2 touchdowns against us. At least that's what it seems. And it feels like a day that Mike Evans is going to perform well because the game is on the line. If you go back to last year, remember we were playing Tampa Bay. We had a must-win situation. I know it was a different team, but must-win to get into the playoffs, and we lose, lay the goose egg. Here we are. We have a chance to spoil the run for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And boy, that would be great, right? Spoil Tampa Bay, go into the offseason on a positive note with a win, 3 wins, which is not a lot to write home about, but it's a better situation than, going into it having lost, especially having lost the way that we did last week to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I wanted to go back very quickly. Yeah, here we go. The points total for this game, 37 points. Panthers have the worst scoring offense, averaging right under 15 points per game. Tampa Bay is, quite better offense than we are. Tampa Bay is favored by 4.5 points right now, and I think that's a pretty good line. Probably could even push up a little bit on that, maybe 5-6 point favorite. If I'm the one, setting the lines, but I know, the money's got to move one way, and I don't think you could outright guarantee that Tampa Bay is going to take this game because we've seen bigger surprises. Now, the one benefit for the Panthers is that when they have played well, they've played well at home, and they've won at home. Those are the only 2 wins came at home. The last time they played at home was against Green Bay, and they played really well. It was a fantastic day for Bryce Young. So maybe, just maybe, they can get that magic back and pull off an upset and send your rival home crying, miserable, just like us, sitting at home as we go into the offseason. Now, do I think or can I predict a Panthers win? No. Unfortunately not. After what I saw last week and how many times Bryce gets hit, Mingo out, the questions on the offensive line, we're nearing, sack records for Bryce Young. As it sits today, if you throw in Andy Dalton's sacks, this is the worst offensive line as far as sacks given up in a single season for the Carolina Panthers. So it's hard for me to imagine that the Panthers somehow figured out this last week, although it's possible. A lot on the line. I would expect some gadgetry, like calling some fake punts, not multiple, but, probably some trick plays, a fake punt. I don't think we have a fake field goal in us. You do have Eddie Pinheiro. It sounds like he's out, so we got Matthew Wright back as the kicker who was here in the preseason, kicked while Eddie was hurt during that span. Our luck with kickers, man, and warm-ups, it's terrible, man. Terrible. But yeah, I'll throw up the NFL's prediction here, and I'll keep talking. You can see here there's only one person, Adam Rank, who is picking the Panthers to win. He picked us to win last week. It's hard for me to follow him. I mean, maybe if you give me the points, I'd say you'd have to give me 6.5 points for me to feel comfortable taking the Panthers this week. If we're talking about spread. Will the Panthers pull the upset? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no right now. I'd love to see it. I'd love for Bryce to come out and ball and prove me wrong and win this game. But for today, I am going to take Tampa. They've got the presence. They're here, on business, and they pull this off and they make the playoffs, win the NFC South. End of story. So we're going to take Tampa Bay. They blow it up in a little bit. We'll take Tampa 30, Carolina Panthers 17. That's all, folks. That is your final preview of this season. So thankful for y'all who are tuning in and watching. Don't worry, folks. A lot more content. I will do a recap of the game. I'll also continue to produce more and more content. Again, follow me on X. Follow me on YouTube because I am starting to put out more content on YouTube that is not directly on the podcast. So follow me there. Search 2 Growls, 1 War. Anyways, that's all I got. Y'all have a great one.